Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to the Think Big with Dan and Qasim podcast. And our guest today is Shannon. So Shannon, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Hi, guys. Thank you guys for having me. My name is Shannon Adam. I'm actually the CEO of Best Ride on Cars. We are based out of Dallas, Texas. We are a company that specializes in licensed battery operated and non-battery operated ride-ons, providing, ages from 18 months old all the way up to 8 years old, and helping children, work with their fine motor skills, gross motor skills, and also just, using their imagination to have fun.
Amazing. So just tell me more about this company, like how you got the idea to actually start this company, when kind of just more about your background. Have you always been like an entrepreneur? What does that look like?
So I think Best Ride on Car story and my story, it's very interesting. Not that I think all entrepreneur stories are great, right? But for this one, I guess, it hits home because we did work for everything we have, right? So Best Ride on Cars actually started, my husband actually started the company in 2010. He was finishing up his business degree and trying to figure out, what he wants to do for the future. So coming from a business background, especially from his family, his dad was very, very supportive in his business endeavors. And so his dad was like, look, rather you could join corporate America, you can, do your own thing, or, you can come and join my company and, join the retail side. Alex actually had a wonderful childhood. He grew up in India and he was just looking through some pictures. He knew that he wanted to do something that created a lot of happiness, didn't want to do anything that brought any type of gloominess, sadness, none of those things. Luckily ran through a picture of himself sitting on a foot to floor in India in his grandpa's house. And as he saw that picture, he realized, he's like, you know what? I don't have one bad memory of this toy. I was like, there's always been such positivity. So he's like, this is what I want to do. So in 2010, he decided that he's going to be importing in ride-on cars. So started the business in 2010, just was really small and nothing, nothing substantial, just very, very small. We got married in 2012. I actually have a degree in education, don't have a business background. So I'm a hustler at heart. I am self-taught and I'm very, very proud of that. I think that is the true entrepreneur spirit, right? Is that you build yourself and what you have from nothing and you see what you're capable of. So 2012, again, I graduated with my degree in education thinking, I'm going to be teacher of the year. We're going to have a plan. And of course that doesn't happen. Some things that happened in my family where I needed to be there for my parents and unfortunately couldn't continue to practice education. And so at the time, Alex, wanted to grow the business and he's like, hey, you know what? I need support in the business. So why don't you come join me? And then you can also, be a support to your family. And of course, my family was such a big priority and I was like, done, let's do it. Walked into the office the first day, knowing nothing, walked in, sat on my desk. And I remember Alex walking into my office and he's like, hey, I want to be on Hay Needle. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I want to be on Wayfair. And I'm like, don't know any of these people, because my time, it's like you're thinking about Macy's and Dillard's and other companies that, okay, I know who you're talking about, but Hay Needle and Wayfair, now I know who they are. Now they're great. Now we know exactly who they are. And again, not having a business background, but having that hustler mentality that my dad had a really big hand in growing me. Like through my childhood, he always taught that things are not handed to you. Everything is earned and you have to work for everything you have. So my dad, my hustler mentality is from him, which I'm really proud of. So then I remember my favorite, it's called plug and chucking. I don't know if that's a word, but that's my word. So what I used to do, so Alex was like, okay, we want to be on Hay Needle, right? I don't know the buyer. So I'd go on LinkedIn, like, okay, the buyer, let's say is John Smith. So I would go John.Smith at Hay Needle or J.Smith at Hay Needle, J_dash. I would try every format, like formats that you can't even process. And I would just write, and then send. And then I'm like, okay, you get 100 undeliverables, but one went through. And when that one went through, you were like, yes, you sat there for an hour, you figured all that out, you sent in, you got those emails. So luckily we got on Hay Needle. That was a really great moment that, they were like, we would love to have your product on the site. And at the same time, again, being new, company wasn't growing a profit. There was nothing. We're just, at this point, we're just throwing stuff on the wall, seeing what's going to stick. And so I remember we got an email from a company, Zulily. Probably you've heard of it and other people have heard of it. And Zulily emailed us saying, hey, Shannon, we want your products on our site. I'm like, first of all, don't know who Zulily was. So educated myself on who they were. And they were like, okay, sent this huge contract. And in this contract, being a very proud person, not wanting to ask for help, I sat there and Googled every term, rather if it was defective allowance, an RMA, net terms, payment terms. I Googled everything. I was like, I need to know exactly what this contract is talking about. Of course, Alex had gone to business school and probably knew what those terms meant, but I was like, no, I want to be able to say like, I did this and I figured it out. And it took an extra day, but we'll take the extra day. So then we decided, okay, so I signed the contract, sent it off to Hey Needle. The fun part of it, which I learned, again, especially when your company is starting off and you're not profitable, right? You're sitting here, every dollar counts. Zulily was like, hey, yeah, it's a consignment base. And I'm like, you do that with toys? How does that work? And they're like, yeah, you set up your items and then whatever you sell, we'll pay you after 30 days. And again, as a company that you're just like, wait a minute, what? I'm supposed to sell you like X amount of goods and hope I get paid. And at the time, for someone that you're like, I need to get paid now. Why am I waiting to get paid? So Alex and I had a huge discussion and he was like, you know what? Let's just try it. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, you're in it. I'm in it. Let's just do it. And at the time, everything was manual. So Friday, I put all the products in, submitted the inventory and left. Event ran from Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday evening. And so Monday morning, I came in and there was 72 orders, which I was like, I just thought I had the lottery. Like, this is it. Like, we did it. It was almost a $9,000, actually not a $7,200 PO. $7,200 for a company that literally was not making profit, didn't even know like this was even a thing. I was just like over the moon. I was like, okay, let's go. So Monday morning, again, got all the orders, manual, had to type in all orders, hand by hand, name, address, all the things, put the dimensions of the product, printed all the labels. I personally went and pulled every box out from my warehouse and put all the labels on, put it on my dock and saw the truck, the FedEx UPS truck take the goods away. And as it's walking away, literally, I'm like, I hope I get paid. I hope I get paid because that was, again, right? Every dollar, everything counts. So the 20th day, I emailed, I was like, hey, reminder, payments due next week. Literally the next day we got paid. And it was like, Dan, I'm not even telling you, like it was the most fulfilling moment of that moment in my life because what you did, you were able to see it convert and actually happen. And, seeing something like our first order, make a profit, it do well, they were so excited about the product and you really feel like you're capable of something. So yeah, we had very, very humble beginnings. Me and Alex used to sit in a 10 by 10 office, a lime green 10 by 10 office. Right. And my computer was facing the lime green office.
Is Alex still involved with the company today?
Yes, he's considered a co-founder because as of 2020, I am now the CEO of the company. So Best Ride on Cars is now a women-owned, minority-owned company. He's still a co-founder, still very involved with the supply chain and handles all of our import and exporting, still completely involved. But everything else, we still have a great partnership. We discuss everything because for us, like this is a family-owned business. Right. I think Alex and I realized that Best Ride on Cars is a family-owned business, but I don't like the word business anymore. The reason being is because I have two children. I have a 9-year-old daughter and I have a 8-year-old son. And my daughter used to sit on my table in her carrier as I'm on a conference call pumping. So I was rocking my daughter, taking a call and pumping all at the same time because that call would make sure I get a PO and that PO is going to keep the doors open and keep the lights on. So that hustle, that drive, that passion, it wasn't just for me. It wasn't for Alex. It was for our children. And so I tell Alex, I was like, I don't like the term business. I want the term legacy. This is something for them. Like we're building something that they can be proud of. And they see that, everything in our life, everything we're doing here, it's not just handed to us. It was a lot of hard work, but I think there's no success without work.
100%. So in terms of the business today, are you mostly direct to consumer, retail? Are you selling through these like third party Amazon, Wayfair networks? Like what does the percentage breakdown look like for you?
So as of today, Best Ride on Cars is about 80% import based and 20% domestic. Now, what that means is that our business model has never been direct to consumer. It's not something that we as a company thought that would make sense for us because we are a manufacturer. We manufacture a lot of molds ourselves. We do licensing ourselves. We do also distribute licensing, right? So for us, direct to consumer just wasn't a fit for what we had established Best Ride on Cars to be. So, we have placement in the large brick and mortars like Walmart and Target and Sam's Club. We're also in specialties like Nordstrom and Neiman and Saks Fifth Avenue, but we're also in Farm and Fleet like Mid States and Rural King and Tractor Supply. What makes Best Right on Cars, I think, just like how I just said that entire sentence, right? There's something for everybody in my company. Rather Farm and Fleet, your specialty, mom and pop shop, brick and mortar, retail, or even .com based. We want to be able to fulfill a need for every single consumer out there, because I think it's a very big cliche to say, oh, like I'm only this person, or I'm only, catered to this person. I feel like being a good company, being a good business, I think is understanding that you do have to fulfill the needs of all the different consumers out there.
Hey y'all, it's Dan Melnick, the CEO of Zing, and I wanted to share a special offer for all of our listeners. Right now, if you need software development services, we'll give you 2 weeks of a free trial. Do you need to update your website? Do you want to build a mobile app? Do you want to update something that you've been working on for a long time? We've worked in a high-level technologies like AI, machine learning, blockchain. So shoot me a text, 817-874-2208. Thank you.
Right. So essentially, you do a lot of licensing to other companies, and then your product so it's mostly just wholesale, right? That you're wholesaling your product to all these different platforms. Like people can't go on your website today, like, consumer and buy direct from you. They have to buy through one of your partners, essentially.
Yes, we have our website available, which is there. It does have a costing, which is our suggested retail pricing on there. Again, it's there. We're in the process of changing that platform, because it's just to show that what the retail is of those products. But ideally, no, we don't want to be direct to consumer. We're always B2B, and that's kind of how we always see Best Right on Cars now, and even as it continues through the future.
100%. So what would you say is the biggest challenge that you currently face in the business?
I think the biggest challenge right now is the volatility of just the environment that we're living in. I think every company in the last couple of years would believe that shipping, raw material costing has been the biggest obstacle. We're still battling it today. I feel like there's a lot of volatility in terms of costing, and I think it really affects the companies that we supply to. We try to always keep our costing the same throughout the year. Very rarely we try to increase costing. If a possibility to decrease, we would love that. But unfortunately, with the shipping and being able to handle it has been really difficult. As our company, moves more into import, it's been better. But because we do have 20% of our business that we do have to fulfill domestic orders, and trying to explain to your suppliers that, hey, by the way, the shipping I quoted you 2 weeks ago is not what it is now. Those are not really positive conversations. And luckily we've been surrounded by really amazing suppliers that have understood, but it's not a conversation I like having. So the volatility of the environment that we live today in terms of shipping and those, not my favorite conversation to have.
Yeah, for sure. It's not easy to go back to your customer and say, hey, now we have to charge more because our costs are going up. It's something that, to your point, everybody's been dealing with that, like, the last few years, and it's not easy in any business. So I was curious, like we kind of briefly touched on it earlier. I know you mentioned you're not using it so much, but in terms of AI, right? Like, do you guys use any chat GPT or any AI? Like, and if not, like, where can we give your business some more value?
So, I'm glad we had a conversation about it, a very brief conversation, but, I never thought, my company or even like Ride-Ons would make use of AI. I've seen it used, people use ChatGPT and things like that. We haven't seen a need for it as of right now. I think what we are trying to do is we're trying to see how we can involve that maybe in what the consumer sees. Example, like we're trying to figure out that maybe we can turn the manuals into AI, where, the manual maybe comes up on their phone, or maybe instead of them having to have a piece of paper, there's something they can scan, and then it like does like a full-on visual of how it's assembled, and it can kind of assemble it with you, something like that. We're in conversations with factories. I think technology is moving at such a rapid pace. I don't even think we could keep up with it, even if we wanted to, but we are trying to do different initiatives for it. I think it's just a little bit more difficult when it comes to ride-ons. I think if I had a different subcategory, I think maybe, but we're working on it. We're trying to see where we can fit it. We're also are looking at if the consumers see a need for it. I think they're also kind of waiting to see that drive come to.
Right. So maybe like a mobile app or something with AI to help with assembly, or even, something for consumers where they can kind of, like improve their experience potentially.
So I don't know if I mentioned, Dan, but our ride-ons actually are remote control operated. So
Right.
the parents actually have a remote to control the cars when the children are driving. So that was another way we were thinking about how we can incorporate AI. Like, is there a way that maybe our remote can be turned into an app or something like that? But again, with frequencies, because, anything with batteries, motors, sometimes, everybody, like, I think 99% of things are being exported out of China. And, there's similar factories that build certain things. So, the frequency, I would never want, like, to develop something where, frequencies are the same and things like that. So that is a conversation. That's actually probably the bigger conversation we're having, is how we can have maybe an app for a remote. But again, we would always trial test it 100 times before we roll anything out, for sure.
100%. Yeah, 100%. That's super critical, especially in your line of work when there's kids involved and
Of course.
machinery, and yeah, testing it is very, very important. So what would you say is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew before you started this business?
I think patience. I think I realized that you do have to have a lot of patience. I think people say, oh, you should just, crawl and run. No, you're going to crawl, you're going to walk, you're going to jog, and then you're going to run. I think, I'm very fortunate today, like how I had said, that we have placement in Walmart and Target, right? I think if I was looking at myself 12 years ago, sitting here, oh, I'm going to go for Target and Walmart right now, like out the gate. And I'm like, there is no way I would have survived. It's like you're in the ocean and you're going to drown because you're overwhelmed. And I didn't want that. And I think I was very defeated, thinking that, oh, I should have just done it from the get-go. But I was like, no, I would not change anything that we did, because in these 12 years, we were able to establish ourselves to be able to not just get into these big brick and mortar stores, but to stay in them. I think patience was the biggest thing. And I think I wish I could talk to myself 12 years ago and be like, just hold off, just wait, it's going to be okay. And, my dad says it, I have a lot of amazing support with, Alex's mom and dad are phenomenal, gave him an amazing, understanding of business. And his mom always say that, pace yourself, don't rush. My dad would say, pace yourself. He's like, don't try to grow too big at once. So I think for people out there trying to, start their companies and establish themselves, just tell yourself that you need to give yourself time. We live in such a fast-paced time, right, that you want results right away. But sometimes, like, for certain things, you just need some time. You just need some time.
100%. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I see many brands that, go into Walmart and Target too soon, and then they just don't sell through and are out, and it's hard to get that opportunity again. So to your point, the way that you did, I mean, timing is everything. Being in the store at the right time and also being able to sell the time that you're in is super critical.
And supply chain is our friend.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're all investing in educating ourselves about supply chain more than anything these days.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. It's like once you're in the store, you want to make sure that you have enough inventory if it sells out.
Oh, absolutely.
Planning all those things. And especially dealing with COVID was a challenge for many companies. So speaking of that in your business, so if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you see things going for Best Ride on Cars?
I think we're hoping for Best Ride on Cars to kind of go a little bit more international. We are pursuing, other countries and figuring out, how our brand could fit in other countries and other parts of the world, trying to make sure we keep up with trends. So in the next 1 to 5 years, again, we're gonna crawl and walk and jog and run. But I do feel like international is kind of where we see the future of Best Ride on Cars and where we want to see our next endeavors come through.
So are you being sold anywhere else outside of the US now? And if not, like, what are some of the countries that you're looking at for opportunities?
So we are being currently sold in Canada. We are also being sold in many countries in Central and South America. We are having conversations, with Mexico, with Europe, with Asia as well. So hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll be able to check the rest of them off and we should be good to go. But we are in a few other countries already.
Amazing. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out, do you mind sharing your website or social media, email?
Of course.
Best ways to get in contact?
Absolutely. So you guys can follow us on our Instagram, Best Ride on Cars, or you can find me on LinkedIn under Shannon Adam. Also, my personal email, if anybody would, want to have a conversation, it's shannon.adam@bestrideoncars.com.
Awesome. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for your time today.
No, I appreciate you, Dan. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Of course.